welcome to the Player's Take, episode 152. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host. He hates Souls games, Montrell Rice.
I don't hate Souls games. I love them. And
Okay.
hi, everybody. I do love them.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Just to tease people. So, I guess let's just get right into the rigmarole, Montrell.
Yeah, let's get right into it, man.
We got to get down to business. We want to get out here nice and quick today. So, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us a question on Twitter, send us a question on Twitter. You can send it to @theplayerstake, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com, and we will absolutely read it on the show. All right, Montrell. So, this week, we've had a lot of news, but I want to talk about something real quick. PlayStation Now gift cards are being pulled from retail shelves. Do you think this is an indication that the Spartacus story from like a month ago that Bloomberg did, do you think Spartacus is happening? This feels like an indicator.
Yeah, I do. And that's very interesting, too, that you say that, because I just read a article today. I think I was scrolling down my Twitter on lunch. Or actually, I didn't even take a lunch today. I was just scrolling down Twitter while I was imaging some computers.
Mm-hmm.
That Sony has some kind of patent in the works where it has backwards compatibility to 2, 3, and 1.
Yeah.
So PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 are going to be backwards compatible. I don't know if it's for PlayStation 4, but I know definitely for PlayStation 5. There's some kind of patent in the works, or they already patented it right now. They patented the software for it. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, so I didn't put that in the news because this is, we've had dozens of rumors about that functionality with PlayStation 5 for the last few years. And it's kind of a I'll believe it when I see it kind of thing. Until Sony like formally announces it, I'm not really going to talk about it probably.
Gotcha.
But it is interesting that the timing of those things, because if they can get that working, then that feels like a piece of their that was the third tier of the Spartacus subscription, right? Was like access to old games. So yeah, maybe it is real. I mean, that would be pretty sick. I would love the emulation, dude. If they can get emulation of PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games working on PS5, that feels like a big move for them, because their back catalog, while not as good as Nintendo's, is definitely way better than Xbox's. So
it's so many lost games on the PS3, and
yeah, man,
it's ridiculous.
PS3, PS2, PS1, even. I mean, those games you really haven't been able to play outside their platforms for the most part. So pretty much everything on those devices is lost, Yeah,
it's kind of interesting that they haven't kind of did this venture. I mean, I guess they haven't had the incentive to do it until Game Pass came out. The games of competition. But it's kind of interesting because their emulators are all over the internet. So I'm pretty sure it's not hard for them to pull one of those developers and be like, hey, can you make this for our technology? Because I'm pretty sure, I'm 90% sure that's what Xbox, and even with, we already have proof that that's what Nintendo did for some of their games. They used one of the emulations. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that they're taking this long to get to that way, when they've been, in my opinion, the pioneers for backwards compatible. I mean, PlayStation 2 was backwards compatible with PlayStation 1, PlayStation 3. The first PlayStation 3 was backwards compatible all the way to PlayStation 1, and then obviously with PlayStation 4 they cut all that out. But
right, they were the one that put pressure on Nintendo originally. Remember, like the GameCube was the Wii was backwards compatible with the GameCube, and that was the first time Nintendo had ever done that on the console space, right? So, which is interesting. So you're right. Yeah, Sony did kind of start that ball rolling, I guess. Because Xbox did it with Xbox 360 to Xbox original, but actually, did they?
It was only 500 games that were compatible with the Xbox 360.
Okay, yeah. So it was only a subset. It wasn't the whole library, which
was the whole library.
PS2 to PS1, and then even PS3, the original fat one that was backwards compatible. That one was back compat with the entirety of the PS2 and PS1 libraries, which is why that device is one of the most valuable video game devices ever created. To this day. Good luck finding one for cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
But Yeah, so that's interesting. If they can get this, dude, if they can get this working, I mean, and they start selling some of these old games, I think this is a money maker sitting
It,
there that Nintendo, for some reason, doesn't want to take advantage of. But
I
I
was
feel
I
like
was just
Sony
gonna
would.
say that this will be a win for not only Sony but Microsoft as well. I mean, this will be a win for all gamers. But this will also put pressure on Nintendo to be like, "Hey, where's your backwards compatible?" And not that Nintendo Online bullshit, 10 games. Like,
Yeah,
give us
yeah,
something. So
yeah.
it's interesting to see what they're gonna do.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move it. Let's move on, Montrell. Let's get started with the show proper with games we've been playing. We haven't talked. We haven't had a real episode in three or
A
four
month.
weeks,
Yeah,
right?
it's been
Yeah,
about a
something like
month.
that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you've played a lot of games. I played a lot of games, but I'll get started. Um, and I will say I haven't really played much single player in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I've been in a bit of a rut, like in my personal life, and it's kind of bled over into games. I really went into a huge like TV kick the last couple weeks, and I'm
Me
coming
too.
out of it now, but it kind of affected my playtime. I was mostly just playing multiplayer stuff with you guys. So I've been playing Apex, of course. There's not much to say there. I'm still enjoying it. I love the game, of course. But so I got into, though, like, we started recently. I think I mentioned this the last time we talked. I don't know. Had this happened yet? I don't remember.
No,
But we
this
started
happened
playing
in a
League a
couple
little
weeks.
bit. Yeah, we started playing League a little bit, and I played with you and Brad and Jet, I think, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we played with the four of us a couple times. And then I think we played with Jet once, the two of us with Jet. Like one time we got dominated, surrendered at like 10 minutes. It was stupid. But yeah, so I started playing that and it was fun, but then it got my Dota like juices pumping a little, and I started like looking at Dota in my Steam menu, and then I was like, it's still downloaded. I never uninstalled Dota. Like I've always intended to go back to it at some point, and it's just been like years. I really have played like a couple games every year here or there, but I was like, I really want to like actually get back into it for once. So I
Yeah.
started playing Dota 2, and I haven't played much of it. I've been mostly focusing on bot matches to kind of get my feel back into the game. And I played a few like matches with players, like 3 so far, and I've gotten my shit absolutely pushed in multiple times against real players. Every time I played, it's been just a pure domination thing, and it's weird that this is happening to me because my MMR you would think would have decayed, but I feel like I'm in an MMR bracket I shouldn't be in,
Yeah.
and because yeah, I'm playing the game and I'm out of my depth. I don't know what I'm doing compared to other players. Like they just were like absolutely wrecking me. I was doing okay in the early stages of the game, the laning phase, and even early part of the mid game. But by the time I got mid game, late game, like I just couldn't even compete. Like I wasn't keeping up with farm at all, and I like didn't know why. It was like people were like over 100 CS ahead of me, like 25 minutes into the game. It was like crazy shit. And it's not like I wasn't farming. I was like actively trying to farm. I just apparently wasn't doing it very efficiently. That's kind of what I came to the conclusion of. I watched a video or two on some stuff, and yeah, man, it's just I love MOBAs, I love Dota, and I do like League. I will say, as much as we were bitching about it a little bit, I do actually like League. I kind of do still want to play it with you,
Hmm.
but I think my thing right now is like if I'm gonna play these games, I really need to sit down and like figure out how to play them rather than like wasting our time going into pub matches and getting fucking destroyed. So I took my first steps towards that when I started watching videos last week, because a lot of the concepts in the Dota video I watched actually kind of apply to the role I've been playing in League as well, the ADC bottom.
Yeah.
Um, so I kind of want to go back to League a little bit and like try some things out, try a little bit more out. I think I've been a little tepid to like just take farm from people. I've been like giving the team too much space and like letting them get farm over me, which is probably not the way to play, or definitely not the way to play, as like the primary carry in either game, really. So
Yeah.
um, I kind of want to like play and try to apply that and see how I do. Because micro wise, I'm fine. I'm good. I know how to play. Like I'm not perfect, but like I think in lane, like I actually feel like I'm pretty much. I feel like micro wise, I'm better than a lot of players who are playing. I just don't know the game well enough. They're taking advantage of the fact that I don't know what their characters do, you know. But when I'm like in a situation where I'm comfortable against the characters I'm playing against, like I feel pretty good, you know, for the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
part. So like I think me and you, like you were supporting me in bottom, and I think most of the laning phases we had together, we were winning, like for the most part.
Yeah,
But
for both games actually, we were winning, and which is the other lanes we were failing. I
yeah,
mean,
and then
obviously
I
because
fell behind because I didn't know what to do in the mid game, you know. So
exactly, yeah. So
yeah, so it's something I want to get back to it and try it some more. So I'll definitely be playing that a little, both of those games a little bit more. The other game we got back into yesterday, and I like insta regretted this yesterday when we started playing it. We all downloaded PUBG. We haven't played in like 2 years, and we played a few games. I played two, I think, and then you guys played three or four. And there's this new training thing you got to do. You got to play bot matches to be allowed to play against human players. Blah blah blah. So we did all that, and then we all joined. So the two games I played, right? You guys played a game or two before me, I think,
yeah, we played two
and
games before you.
one of the games you guys made second, and then the first one with me, we won the game. And then the second game we played, we made like third, I think, probably as a squad, third or fourth. We were
Yeah,
in a top 10 situation, and we got killed by a human squad. And you'll notice I said human squad there because yes, we talked about this a while ago. PUBG added bots, and they are still in the game, and they severely degraded the fun for me playing yesterday. The fact that we won our first game together as a four, like a group of four, was like such a like I don't know. It just makes the game look bad. We're not good. Like we never were that good. You know, we would go weeks at a time without getting a win in PUBG. You know, and to win our first
yeah.
game back, like that
Well, you
doesn't
gotta
seem
think
great.
too, all right? There's two different things that's going on. First of all, a lot of us gotten better since the last time we played PUBG, um, and battle royales in general. So PUBG is kind of slower paced, but it's still we still carry the fundamentals of a battle royale back to PUBG. We drop a little bit hotter now, so we know what to do in those situations, in those high stress situations. And on top of that, too, we're new players coming back to the game. So we did, Delion, me and Delion and Jet, I think, was reading like, Reddit posts and stuff like that about the bots. And they put you in like, 20% bot matches like your first three games. And then a lot of those other matches, the higher your MMR gets, the better, more players you're going to play with. Um, so I mean, we did come across a couple of human squads, I think, and they were. So I truly believe the ones that we were knocking were humans,
Yeah,
and the solos are bots. So we
yeah,
got a couple of knocks, and then we ran into that one human squad the last game we played, that just totally demolished us, and we're like, "Yep, there it is. Those are the players." Um,
yeah, yeah.
so
Well, they didn't. I wouldn't say they demolished us. We killed two of them, but they
we were
killed
kind of
us.
out of position too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they caught us out of position, and they had buildings, and it was 3v4 though. We killed two of them, they killed four of us, so they did kind of wreck us. They ended up winning the game too. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to like play this game really. I'm really like kind of hemming and
I think you
hawing
still
about it.
have battles. I think you still have battle scars from like way back when.
Well,
But
the
I
thing
think
is, the game's not different. It felt no different to me. That like Jet was saying, like he was saying, like, oh yeah, dude, one game and I'm back into it. And I'm like, that's not a good thing. That means the game hasn't changed. Like we were like mad at the game because it was a piece of shit. It's still a piece of shit. Like it's not really any different. It has new maps. It has some new features, new weapons and items and shit you can pick up. But like largely the feeling of the game is still bad. Besides the shooting mechanics, like the movement is awful. It feels so bad. I'm like, going from Apex to PUBG, I just felt like I'm fucking like an old man walking around with like a fucking anchor on my around my leg. Like it's bad, dude.
I was hoping that they scaled down a lot of the maps, because the ring is definitely unforgiving compared to like Apex.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't mind it though. I like the slower pace movement of Apex compared to Apex, or the slower pace movement of
Yeah.
PUBG compared to Apex. Um, it is a good change of pace sometimes. I think it's a good game to switch back and forth to.
Hmm.
Um, because sometimes Apex can just be a little bit too hectic
Yeah, I know.
certain
It's
days.
not. There's like no chill in Apex, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the game never has chill.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't mind it. But I definitely did understand. But I don't know. I would like for us to go back to it. I think it was pretty fun. I think we were a lot better as players in general than we were 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Hmm.
We're not. I don't know. It was just weird how we played 2 years ago compared to how we play now. Like I can't even imagine just dropping hot or
Well, we're
dropping
more we're
cold.
more aggressive, right? Like I
Yeah.
think that was the thing that was. I mean, I will say the problem is this is the issue. This is why I don't really know where we stand with the game because we were playing against majority bots. That's what it felt like, and we could be aggressive, so we were because the bots suck and they're like one person. They're not even a squad. So you're playing a game with 80 one person bot teams and then like 3 or 4 human squads, or 5 human squads, something like
Yeah.
that, and the human squads probably got thinned out a lot of the time by the bots before we even ran into them, or we killed them early, which I think we did 1 or 2 of the games. So you're sitting there like you're sitting there running around and you're not scared. I wasn't really scared of us getting killed because the bots, it was mostly bots. So I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't know. That's my thing. I think if we do actually get out of bot land and get into real games against real players, I feel like we're gonna get wrecked again.
I mean,
Because
me and Jet did. Our first
yeah,
game, we dropped in. We dropped hot. It was a duo. It was a duos game,
yeah,
and we killed 3 human players, 3 human squads, and then we got wrecked by like one guy who might me and Jet.
hmm,
So, I mean, I think it's just like the whatever you get. I think it's just wherever you drop and stuff like that. So I don't know.
yeah. I just don't think the bots are ever gonna go away though, like fully. That's the thing. So
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like that. I don't want bots in my games, but I don't know. I'm not gonna uninstall it. I mean, I'll probably keep playing with you guys, but like last night, what happened yesterday to me was we played that second game, and I was just like, I'm not doing this all night. This is a waste of my fucking night. Like, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna go play something else. And you guys all got pissed at me, but that's what's gonna happen to me every time we play PUBG. Probably we're gonna play it. We're gonna play it at like 8 to like 10, and it's gonna be like 10 or 10:30, and I'm just gonna be like, I'm not wasting the rest of my night on this game. Let's play something else, or I'm gonna go play some fucking Final Fantasy or some shit. You know, so that's kind of it's not grabbing me the way Apex does. Like I'm not that into it. I guess is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
we'll see how it goes. Going forward. Also, I did mention Final Fantasy. Yes, I got back into that a couple days ago. I started playing the Endwalker expansion, and this game is just the perfect like poultice for any kind of depression you're feeling. It's just such a chill, like nice game to play. It makes me feel good. I don't know what it is about this game and this game world and these characters. I just love this game, man. Like it just feels great to play. Like it makes me like want to live in this world, even though it's kind of shitty in Endwalker. But the environments are so like calm and like chill, and the design of them is just everything's so beautiful. Like even though the game doesn't look that good by today's standards, like their ability as a development team to take what they have and make it look beautiful as a whole, like it's greater than the sum of its parts, is kind of the way I describe it. And I don't know, the game's just chill. It just feels really fun to me to like just be in this world and just be running around and doing whatever, so I'm not very far. I've only played like 2 or 3 hours so far, but I'm definitely. I think this is going to be the game I'm going to kind of mainline for a while until I finish it. I'm going to try to get it in before Dying Light 2 comes out, and whether I decide to jump into that right away or not, I want to kind of be done with it by then. So, but Montreal, you won't join us. You're not in an MMO mood. You said right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not. I'm happy for y'all, but I'm not in the mood right now.
All right, well, we'll probably be here for a little while. So, if you change your mind, you can come play with us. We do need a tank, man.
Yeah, no, it's just I don't feel like dropping $90. I don't know if I'm gonna have to drop a $90 like Jet did, but I
You
just don't.
will, because you bought the Shadowbringers skip, So, or sorry, the Stormblood skip because the Shadowbringers one wasn't out yet. So you would either need to play through Shadowbringers, or buy both skips, the level skip and the story skip. So
Mhm.
yeah, you're probably gonna have to pay 90 as well.
Okay.
But again, I said this to him and Brad and Andy and everybody else. None of you would have had to pay shit. Well, actually, not Snakes, ironically. He's caught up with me. um, None of you would have had to pay shit if you had not wasted the time in the summer and actually like just played the fucking game while I was not playing it. But you know, that is what it is.
Yeah, man, it is what it is.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. All right, the last game I was playing, I played this over the Christmas week for like 3 hours. Skyward Sword. So I bought this on Switch when it came out, and it's been sitting on my my pile for a while. And I decided to give it a shot because I wanted to play something Zelda-y. I actually got Immortals: Phoenix Rising for Christmas. So I was debating between that and Skyward Sword, but I was like sitting there, I was like, oh man, I want to play a traditional Zelda game. And so I put in Skyward Sword, and I played the first 3 hours. I got to Faron Woods. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I haven't actually gotten to the first dungeon yet, but so this game's weird. DJ apparently doesn't like it very much. I'm assuming you don't either, because he was telling me like, why are you even playing that trash? And
I haven't played it. I just didn't.
okay,
The only mode I played, or the only one I played, was the whatchamacallit, the Wii U version, or the Wii version of it, and I didn't like the Wii version because you need the Wii Plus or whatever the
yeah.
fuck it was called, and I just wasn't
Well,
a big fan of that.
okay. The irony here is they added a normal control scheme for the game, so you can play it with a controller, right? You don't need motion controls. The irony here is that it's starting to make me wonder. All those times we whined about Nintendo not giving us normal control schemes, like for this Zelda game or Twilight Princess on the Wii, or the Star Fox game on the Wii U that had the weird gyro controls and everything. Maybe they knew what they were talking about because this game on a controller feels like total shit. Like it doesn't play very well at all. It's to the point that I'm debating of playing it with the motion controls. Like if I'm actually going to play this game and commit to it, like I think I might play with the Joy-Cons like out as Joy-Cons, which I have never done for any Switch game up to this point. But that's how bad the normal controls, the controller controls are, because you have to do weird shit. You cannot. So the camera and attacking with your sword are both mapped to the right analog stick. So what you have to do is, in order to move your camera around Link, you have to hit the right bumper first. In order to like move the camera, so you hold right bumper and you move the right analog stick, and it moves the camera around the screen. And if you let go of right bumper, he then swings a sword based on the direction that you move the analog stick, right? So
Yeah,
it feels terrible. Both of those things feel terrible because you'll be in the middle of like running around and an enemy starts attacking you or something, and you need to move your camera to get a view of them. And for whatever reason, you're not in a position where you can use Z targeting, or you don't want to use Z targeting. It feels awful like to do it because you have to like turn Link around, and then you either decide whether you want to hit the enemy while it's really like hard to see and it's not on your screen, right, or you need to turn the camera. And either one of those decisions means you're probably not going to fight optimally a lot of the time. And it's just, I don't know, the game doesn't feel good on controller. It's really all I can say. In terms of the game itself, the world design and everything, I actually don't really hate it that much. It's kind of cool. I could see. So it's funny. This game introduced a lot of features that Breath of the Wild ultimately had in a more finished and final form. Because this game has a stamina bar. Link can run like sprint, and he uses his stamina. He can also climb things with his stamina as well. He can't climb everything, but there's certain types of things he can climb, and that uses stamina. And then also the game's got a very open world vibe to it in certain spots, like in the Skyloft area. It's kind of an
Mm-hmm.
open world area where you can fly around, and there's all these like little islands you can go to and stuff, and there's stuff to do in all of them. So this game was clearly an experiment for Nintendo in a lot of ways. It was a huge departure from traditional Zelda while still having some of the trappings of traditional Zelda. It also has some mechanics like armor and item upgrading, which is was in Breath of the Wild as well. Equipment doesn't have statistics like it does in Breath of the Wild, but like an armor value or an attack value. But in this game, though, you can upgrade some of your items. You can upgrade your shields. You can upgrade, I think, your weapons. You can also upgrade some of the items you get, like the slingshot, bombs, things like that, eventually as well. And
Mm-hmm.
there's this whole crafting component where you get drops from enemies, just like Breath of the Wild has too. But they're used to upgrade those items, basically. So it's interesting how much of that stuff was here first, because I'm going to be honest, when Breath of the Wild came out, I don't really remember many people bringing that up at all. Like when they were talking about this game, I didn't know about any of this in Skyward Sword. I've never played it, so to experience it this way now, it's kind of weird that no one that I could ever think of like ever really spoke about this fact that some of these mechanics from Breath of the Wild are in Skyward Sword and they came from that game first, so I find that interesting. But I'm gonna try to keep playing it. I think I definitely need to switch to the motion control version. But I don't want to drop this one, so I'll see if I can get back to it. But
Yeah, you know what?
yeah,
Now that you say that, I'm trying to think. A lot of people really didn't mention that. They always mention the terrible controls, but they never mention. Even when people play Breath of the Wild, they don't mention. Oh, this was done in Skyward Sword. They never mention
right.
that. That's pretty
Well,
interesting that you say that.
because think about it, man. Like a lot of them probably don't like Skyward Sword, but they like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, but it's still something you should mention. Even if I don't like a game, I can still mention like the bad of it or the good of the game.
Yeah, but
That makes any sense.
it's almost hypocritical, isn't it? To be like, oh, I don't like this in Skyward Sword, but this exact feature in Breath of the Wild, oh, I like it in Breath of the Wild. It's
Well,
kind of hypocritical.
to people's defense, they do complain about the durability. I don't think they complain
But
about the crafting.
that's not from Skyward Sword. Well, okay, in one aspect it is not with weapons, but you do get shields that are destructible. At least at the early game, which that was
That
always a
I
thing, though.
do.
That's always been a thing with the wooden shields. So,
Yeah, I
um,
would say that I do remember people complaining about. But I mean, like you said, it's always been a thing. If you get fire on your shield, then
correct,
it's done
right?
for. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's like that, and then the I think the stamina system, which is interesting. Nobody mentions that it's from Skyward Sword. I think a lot of people like the stamina system. I mean, it's not the exact same thing, right? This game, like Breath of the Wild, did it differently, where you can get more stamina bars, which maybe you can in Skyward Sword too. I don't know, but you can climb everything in Breath of the Wild, so your stamina is more useful in that game, I guess. In general, so that is probably a big reason why people like that there, but I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I need to play the game more to see more of it too, to see if there are any other similarities that pop out. But I will certainly let you guys know. All right, Montrell, what have you been playing over the last few weeks?
We already talked about two of them, two or three of them actually. So I'm not going to do a recap of those. Um, but I have been playing Death's Door. I've actually been enjoying this game. It's kind of hard. It's a top down or isometric. I don't want to say Zelda like, but and it's not even a rogue like game. It's just a top down, adventure game. Um, do different puzzles and stuff like that. And you got to capture different souls and everything of that nature. So it's pretty cool. It's not like Dark Souls before anybody starts saying that shit. Um, I also been playing since I got my Xbox Series X.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing a lot of games that I really wanted to go back and play, with like better, graphics and stuff. And I've been playing Sekiro, because as additional free content, they also have they also upgraded like some of the frame rating and everything of that nature. So I've been playing it on Xbox Series X, and I've been enjoying it. They have a boss rush mode. They have a ton of different modes, or not a ton of different stuff, but it looks like it's a lot of different things you can do with the bosses.
Yeah.
I haven't really experimented with all that much with it. Because I plan on doing a fresh playthrough, not a new game plus, because I tried that before and it did not go well. I'm just gonna do a fresh playthrough again of Sekiro. I'm probably gonna do it before Elden Ring comes out. Because I don't have
Hmm.
uh any priority to buy Elden Ring as soon as it comes out. Actually, so I also been playing Devil May Cry 5. I've been waiting to play this game because I did not want to play and beat everything again on the PS5. I've been waiting for this version. And I didn't want to. Oh, you got a PC, Montrell. I didn't want to do it on the PC either. I bought it on the Xbox, and I was waiting for me to get my Xbox Series X. And now that I got my Series X, I can play a special edition. They got turbo mode, 120 frames, 4K. So now I can play this game the way I want to play it, and I can play Virgil. So they added a lot of different features in the special edition mode as well. So I'm really enjoying it. Getting back in Devil May Cry. You guys will see some videos soon because I love recording my shit. I also been playing Deus Ex Human Revolution. Uh,
Ooh.
so
Okay.
yeah. So that's the game I was trying to buy last week. So I made a mistake and I bought Deus Ex Mankind Divided on PS4.
That's not a mistake.
Okay. uh
I mean, the game's great. Whatever
yeah.
platform you buy it on.
But I thought that was the first one. It was Human Revolution was the first one. Um
Yeah, which that's not
so
available on PS4.
yeah, and it's only on PS3. So what I did was I used Xbox 360 backwards compatible to buy Human Revolution, and I was like, okay, people I was reading things like, oh, your saves can transfer over, but people were saying like, no, it actually doesn't because Human Revolution and Deus Ex Mankind Divided are on two different consoles. I'm like, okay, so I'm cool. I can just, it's probably gonna reference the stuff I do in the other world, but I'm pretty sure that's regardless of your choices, that's what happens in the world. There's certain stuff they're gonna reference.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so I am enjoying the game. I was enjoying the game, but I ran into a snag and I have to reboot the entire game over again. Um, I forgot with these type of games, there are glitches, and it kind of took me way back when we were used to play games like that.
Yeah.
Whether it be Mass Effect, Elden or not Elden Ring, Elder Scrolls or Fallout and something like that. So I ran into a glitch where you walk into the limb clinic for the first time and you have to talk to one of the head doctor there, but she wasn't in the spot she was supposed to be in. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? So some people are like, oh, you gotta buy, the Paraxis fucking upgrade. And so I spent 400 credits and or 5,000 credits rather, and I bought the Paraxis credit. Nothing fucking happened. So I'm like, some people are like, oh, what? You got to reload your whole game over and start all over again. So I am going to do that, but that did kind of turn me off the game. But I was thoroughly enjoying the game, surprisingly,
Yeah.
uh, up until then.
Yeah.
Because it's just unapologetically an RPG, like an old school RPG, but new school, if that
Mm-hmm.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um, it does things I like. This game is not an action game by any sense. I mean, it is an action game, but you can go in guns blazing if you want to. It's just not. There's so many options. I don't want to do that. I've taken the non-lethal route. I haven't been killing people, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, man.
I've actually uh I've been stealthing around. I've been using my stun gun or just knocking people out, and I actually like it. I've been looking for alternate routes, and hacking and stuff like that. I try to avoid detection as much as I can in the game. I don't know why. It's just really fucking fun to
It's
do that.
really fun in Deus Ex, dude. Mankind Divided is the same way.
Okay.
Um, it's just really, I don't know. There's so many ways to tackle the problems. I don't know about Human Revolution. I've never played through it fully. I've only played like a very little bit of it. I really do want
Okay.
to play that game at some point, but I know it's very, very much the same in this way though, where there's just multiple ways to tackle any given situation, in the game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I kind of missed that. And looks like the scope of the game they didn't overreach their scope. Uh, it's just because it's in Detroit. The first one takes place in Detroit, which they mention streets, and I know those streets and everything like that. It's just really funny when they mention one guy was like, "Hey, this, you're this girl wants to meet you on Grand River Avenue, and I'm like, what? I know where Grand River Avenue is. It's crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's the same way. Well, you were actually pissed when Fallout 4 was in Boston. You were pissed about that shit
Yeah. Well,
because
you know,
it wasn't an accurate representation of Boston, and
no.
this is not an accurate representation of Detroit. But it's still cool. They mention certain streets and things of that nature, and they show the Chrysler Building and all that other shit like that. So I think it's really fucking cool. They mentioned the Renaissance Building, which is really one of the most famous Detroit buildings, GM buildings. So I thought it was just pretty cool. But I was enjoying the story so far. I was enjoying the dialogue. It's different from like Mass Effect and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I think this is what Fallout was trying to do, and they failed terribly at it. Uh,
Yep.
I like when I have an option. I can't think of his fucking name now.
Adam Jensen.
Yeah, Adam Jensen says what I choose. I love that, and I love the dialogue options you do get and everything of that nature. I don't know the games so far. I was like 5 hours into it, and I was enjoying the game because I was taking it really slow with it. But I can probably steam through that within like 2 hours now. Now that I know what I'm doing within those first 5 hours and get back to where we need to get to. Um, yeah, I'm gonna still keep playing it, and uh, because there was certain things I can do, like when you do takedowns, right? I was like, oh man, maybe it's on Mankind Divided where I can, take down two people at the same time. And I saw upgrades like take down two people at the same time. I was like, oh, fuck yes, I can do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the fun part about Mankind Divided, you'll probably find is that a lot of the upgrades from the first game are in the second game, but you have a lot of them by default already in the second
Okay.
game. So they kind of like fast track you, and there's like a whole new skill tree basically that adds on to those
Okay.
powers. By the end of Mankind Divided, dude, you can get crazy powerful in that game with some of the abilities you can get. So yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm playing through this game, and I'm sorry, DJ. I'm sorry, man. If you're listening, bro, this is what Cyberpunk should have been to me. I was playing this game. I'm like, holy shit, this is what I want Cyberpunk to be. And the game already came out. So I'm playing the game now, and I'm just like, it has a really compelling story. The powers are worth it. You can see you can see your upgrades, and you have different power upgrades and everything, and they're actually like visible. I mean, besides stat upgrades and stuff like that, like there's actual feedback to your upgrades. And it's just like I love it. Like this is the cyberpunk game I want, and this is an actual cyberpunk game. So it's like this is my fault for missing out on the game like this.
Hmm.
It came out years ago, and this is my fault. So the game I wanted Cyberpunk to be is actually Deus Ex, and yeah, if you guys haven't, if you were disappointed in Cyberpunk and you haven't played Deus Ex, go back and play Deus Ex, the Human Revolution or Mankind Divided. If you don't want to play Human Revolution, it's kind of dated, so I wouldn't strongly recommend it. I would probably recommend Mankind Divided because that's more. It is the second game in the story, but I'm assuming they're going to recap a lot of stuff that happens in
Yeah,
Human
there's a
Revolution.
recap at the beginning of the game. Um,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, so I'm like a huge Deus Ex fan, which is funny because I've only ever played Mankind Divided. That's the first one I played, and I fucking loved it. It's like one of the best games I've played, straight up. It's that good. I can't wait for you to get to that game because I want to see what you think of it. The fact that it didn't sell well and no one ever talks about it is one of the most criminal things that's ever happened to a video game because it's one of the best games I've ever played. It's so fucking frustrating. So I do want to play Human Revolution though too because the quality of it, I know it's dated, but in terms of the rest of the game, it's basically up to par with Mankind Divided in terms of design and everything and dialogue and story and all that. From what I've heard, so I'm like leaving it for a rainy day. Honestly, when I need to play something that I know is good, like I need a game to just kind of save me, So that's kind of what I'm saving it for. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. This is the reason why I kind of let Cyberpunk go and I haven't looked back. I don't really care that much because I already have a great cyberpunk RPG game. I didn't need it that bad. Wasn't that desperate for it.
Yeah, see,
So
I didn't know this game. I mean, I knew this game existed, but I didn't know it existed in this format. Where I was like, this is the game I wanted. Um, so yeah, I mean, anybody who's a fan of like RPGs, like I definitely say go play Human Revolution. You can get it for $14. You can get the director's cut version for $14 on Steam. I think it's cheaper on Steam. It's like $10
well,
on
if you
Steam.
wait for a Steam sale, the game goes on sale for like $1.50 every Steam
Oh
sale.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And if you don't want to play it on your computer, you can also play it on console. You would probably need an Xbox One if you don't want to buy a Series X or a Series S. You can get an X if you have an Xbox One. You can play it backwards compat on 360. It's $14 on there. So, yeah.
All right, fair enough. All right, Montrell, let's move into the news. We've got a lot of news to get through, and I want to get through it. So, first thing we got at the very beginning of the year was Sony announced PlayStation VR 2. Now, they didn't give any kind of release date or even really a release window for this, but they did detail a lot of what they're going to be doing with it. So, it's going to have 4K HDR, 110 degree field of view. It's going to have an OLED display with a display resolution of 2000 by 2040 per eye, and then a frame rate with a refresh rate on each display of 90/120 hertz. Um, but the disappointing aspect of this is that it is not going to be cordless the way the Quest 2 is, the Oculus Quest 2. It is going to have one cord that is plugged into the PlayStation 5 directly. And to me, that feels like a very big miss. They didn't detail pricing, but rumor is that it's going to be somewhere in the range of 300 to 400, probably, similar to PlayStation VR1, which to me is a pretty hefty price for something that isn't cordless.
How much is
When
the Quest?
the Quest 2, I believe, is only a couple $100. So I'll look it up right now. But Montreal, what did you think of this announcement, though?
Um, so to my dismay, this is actually what I wanted VR to be, and I know people are like, "Well, Montreal, you just had to wait," and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." I wanted VR to be accessible to normal people. So I mean, this is a way of making it accessible to normal people. But I agree. I think it being corded,
Yeah.
coming with a cord, is a huge miss because the Quest 2, normal people are already buying the Quest 2. Like when I say normal people, I'm talking about like grandmas and shit. They're buying the Quest 2 and they're playing this shit and they're fucking loving it. That's the Facebook's VR, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
$300 to $400 is the price.
Yeah.
They have two different versions.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's going to be their competition. I mean, it is a good way for to get inside, another way to get inside the household. And if you already have a PS5, you can just go with this. But why would you want to go with that when you can just get you a Quest that's cordless? So it's definitely going to be
I don't think the
interesting.
Quest 2 even needs a PC either.
It
Like,
doesn't.
it plays
It's
games on its own. Yeah.
Yeah, it's its own console. It's its own
Yeah.
built-in console.
Which, this is the other problem for Sony, is that people need a PlayStation 5 and then they have to buy a PSVR 2. I mean, you're talking about $1,000 investment at that point, which is insane. You're asking a lot, I think, of people, and I appreciate Sony staying in this space and trying to like establish something here, but at the same time, I feel like they're going about it the wrong way. They're not making it accessible, I guess, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be another Vita situation. How they start with the PSP, they make the PSP really hot, and then their next equipment, the Vita, was just supposed to be the PSP2, that failed because they just really didn't use the right tech, if that makes any sense. Like, it was the right tech, but it wasn't the right tech. And I feel like this is the same thing with the PlayStation VR. the PlayStation VR worked because PlayStation 5 been out for years already.
Yeah.
That's exactly why it worked. With the PlayStation VR2, it, in my opinion, it need to kind of be its own thing. I think you need to go with the Quest route. It need to be a console within a console, and then maybe there'll be a more powerful version if you do hook it up to your PS5. But you'll get like the subpar version, right? Like, which is the $300 version of the Quest. You'll
Yep.
get that version of it, um, without the PS5, and I think that would have been a way better way of combating this. Um, I don't want to say it's dead on arrival. I hate saying stuff like that because they may come out with some crazy shit. I know they're gonna have some IPs and stuff like that that are strictly on the PSVR2.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't see it competing with that Quest, man. That Quest is really what. I mean, I might get one, and I wasn't a huge fan of VR, but now it's like
Yeah.
super accessible.
Well,
So
the fact that it's wireless and you don't need a computer tied to it means that you can play it anywhere, meaning that you don't need to tailor a room to it. You know,
exactly, yep,
as long as you have a space that works for it somewhere in your apartment or house, where you live. Whereas with PlayStation, it's tethered to your PlayStation, so in the room that your PlayStation's in, you need to be set up for a VR unit. And I'm not. My PlayStation is across the room from where I sit. I'm
yep.
not fucking running a cord throughout my entire room just to play VR games. Like, sorry, I'm not doing that. So it's these little things. It's little things like that are gonna kill it compared to the Quest. People are they're gonna compare the two, right? They're gonna make the best decision for them. And I think the flexibility of the Quest is gonna win out a lot of the time. So the only way that Sony's going to be able to keep up and compete is that they need killer games that the Quest doesn't have. That's the way they
Well,
can compete.
I think they should keep this in the vault a little bit longer and try to get a wireless option. They have to get a wireless option.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's just
dude, can't you see them in like they release it say next year or the year after, and then 2 years after that they come out with a wireless option?
that would be stupid. Yeah, they
That would
just
be
need to keep it in the
horrible.
vault.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that feels like what they're gonna do though. And that
I
feels like a Sony move.
man, I hope they don't do that. That's really. I mean, you're right. I guess they don't have any. They don't have a. They probably have a whole bunch of R&D into this already, and they got to recoup. But yikes! I mean,
Yeah.
man, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't really
I
have too
mean,
much to say. Yeah,
PSVR though surprisingly has continued to sell well, despite the limitations it has over the years. So, um, I do think there's a market for it. It just we'll see how big it ends up being with all the little inconveniences that Sony is kind of forcing people to deal with.
yeah.
So, um, we'll see when it comes out. All right, let's move on, Montrell. At CES this year, which is the Consumer Electronics Show, happens in January every year in Las Vegas. Sony confirmed that Ghost of Tsushima has sold more than 8 million copies total in its lifetime, which is actually much lower than I was thinking. I thought this game was easily in the 10 million to 15 million range. So to hear that, I was very surprised by that. But the reason I'm bringing this up is not to celebrate Ghost of Tsushima, which great for them. I'm very happy for them. They deserve to sell more copies. Actually, the game is excellent. But this was talked about in relation to Days Gone, pretty heavily because the game director for Days Gone, who has since left Sony several years ago at this point, um, brought up that Days Gone sold 8 million units as well, and that game got canceled, or the second game didn't get greenlit. Like they didn't get a sequel greenlit, whereas Ghost of Tsushima immediately got a sequel greenlit. And I find that there's a lot of back and forth of people being vitriolic about it, blah blah blah. Days Gone's a piece of shit, and Ghost of Tsushima isn't. Of course, Sony would pick Ghost of Tsushima, shit like that. But to me, I guess I want to know where you stand on that. Like, how do you feel about these two games selling a similar number of copies, and one of them not even getting the opportunity to prototype a potential sequel? It just immediately gets denied, and the other one is like lauded as one of Sony's most proud. One of the games they're most proud of is Ghost of Tsushima. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. So there's two things, or there's a couple of things rather, not two. But one of the things is the Metacritic scores, right? So out the gate, if you want to go by that, I think Days Gone is like a 76, 77, maybe a
Yep.
little bit lower than that, something
I'll
like that
check it.
nature.
I'll
It
check
was
it.
mixed. I know the reviews were mixed for it. Whereas Ghost of Tsushima, I know it came out ball to the wall. Everyone fucking loved Ghost of Tsushima. Now you can also say
71.
71. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I knew it was kind of low.
8.4 user score though.
Okay, that's pretty good. Um, so I know when the game was first released, Days Gone rather, it
Yep.
was not well received because it was pretty buggy. The frame rate wasn't really as stable as it needed to be, and things of the nature. And they patched it,
Well,
and
that was
even
a
when
pre-release build. That was the build. So this is what happened with that game.
okay,
Sony PR fucked up and they gave press who were reviewing it pre-launch a build that was broken. And
oh,
they
okay,
patched that build before the game came out and everything was fine for the players. That's why there's such a discrepancy in the scores between critics and users. The game wasn't actually broken at launch. That was not a thing that was like a story. It was broken for reviewers and it reflected in the review scores for the game, which did not get changed when
mm,
the game came out.
okay.
So Sony fucked their own game. And then they punished Bend for it afterwards by putting them on a fucking Uncharted game they didn't want to make, and then a Last of Us remake they didn't want to make, and now they're finally getting to make their own game again after escaping 2 years of purgatory or whatever. But it feels really unjust what happened to them, given the fact that the game sold as well as it did. I think Days Gone actually had a very strong user base that really is passionate about the game, whatever anybody thinks about it. I never played it. You never played it. We weren't interested
Nope.
in it. It wasn't really meant for us. But that doesn't mean the game doesn't deserve to exist. A sequel doesn't deserve to be made for those people who really want it. 8 million
So
people? That's a lot of copies, dude.
no, you're right, and I think that was a lot of that was on PC too, right? I'm
Yeah.
assuming a lot of that was on PC.
Well, no, I
So,
think the 8 million was like before PC. That was like the launch
oh,
window. So,
okay,
yeah.
okay. So, I mean, but not only that, but they had a good PC base as well. I'm pretty sure a lot of people played it on PC and loved it as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So that could have been one of their premium PC hits, or they could have like, okay, we're gonna exclusively make this for PC or whatever. They could have did something with that franchise. They didn't have to just can it. Um, so that was one of the things I was privy to. Another thing is like it's the whole zombies and then samurai. Samurai is way more popular than zombies now because people are kind of like Walking Dead's about to end and the zombie craze is kind of over with. When Days Gone was announced, I remember people were still zombie heavy crazed and everything of that nature. And then you have Last of Us, right? Which are technically they're not zombies, but post apocalyptic world, blah blah blah. So you got that. So you got that going against it. The third thing I saw was there was this weird push against the game. Now, I, I consider myself a pretty woke fellow. Uh, there is a such thing as being a little bit too woke, and I think this was one of those cases. So when the article I was reading past articles about the game, and our friend who's really good at doing stuff, but sometimes he's really bad at doing other stuff, Jason Schreier, was writing about the game, and him and other, uh, not just him, but other writers as well, were saying stuff. When did this game get announced?
I want to say 2016 or 2017. It came out in
Okay, so
2019.
okay, this is way after Gamergate then. But they were saying Gamergate esque stuff. Oh, another stereotypical white male protagonist
Mm,
in a
yeah.
biker jacket, doing this, and that, and the third, where games will progress for the need past that. I mean, they're not wrong. We don't now for games to sell, we don't need a white protagonist. I mean,
Yeah.
there are plenty of games
Right.
that so they're not wrong about that. But I do remember that being the driving force for a lot of game journalism around this game, and I thought it was weird then. And going back and reading those articles now, I thought it was weird now, and I'm like, this is really weird how they're just against this game. So I don't know if it was Sony or like maybe someone at Studio Bend but it has with an executive, and an executive was like, "Yo, I need people to kill this game." It's just really weird how that game um is being treated compared to Ghost of Tsushima. I don't really know why, but I do know I am on the side of Bend when it comes to someone kind of has it out for them, but that's like a conspiracy theory at this point because we don't
Yeah.
know, you know.
Yeah, but the way Sony's treated them, it's hard to not feel that, you know? Like I don't feel like Sony respects Bend very much. It's weird, you know? I don't
I mean, have they done anything else besides? I can't.
they
If you
made
can
the
refresh my
Uncharted they
memory.
made Uncharted Golden Abyss on the Vita, which was a heavily critically lauded game, like
Okay.
very well received on the Vita, but they hadn't made anything since then. There was like a 7-year gap between that game and then Days Gone. So that was part of the problem with them, is that
Okay.
they had a very long production cycle where they had a bunch of failed pitches that didn't work out and canceled projects and stuff, and then they finally landed on Days Gone. But you know, it's not like the game wasn't a success. I think that's what's weird about the whole thing, because it paints this picture that Sony's only looking for one specific things out of their studios, and it really makes me concerned that we're gonna be in a situation where their games are gonna underperform and they're not gonna be happy with their studios who are really good at making games. You know, like if the game isn't a fucking 90 on Metacritic, you know, one of the most critically acclaimed games of its year slash generation, then Sony doesn't want it. You know, it's
Yeah,
like,
they're not okay with. I don't like to say mediocre, but they're not okay with okay games. Like Days
yeah,
Gone is an okay
or
game. It's
even
a decent.
solid. Like,
Yeah, a solid,
yeah,
decent game. You know, it's a
yeah,
solid, decent game, and they're not okay with that. They everything needs to be pushing 500 units, 5 million units rather. I'm sorry, or more. But the thing is, this game did. This game exceeded that.
yeah,
I think what happened was this, Justin. I think, like you said, they had a whole bunch of failed pitches. They finally landed on Days Gone. Sony was like, "All right, whatever, bro. I'll give it to you. Do Days Gone. You got your money. Here you go." Boom. They're doing Days Gone. Sony's like, "Hey, man, we need to start letting some companies go, or yeah, letting some studios go." And like, yo, Ben Studio, we're gonna let them go regardless. I mean, we know Days Gone is not gonna do that well. We haven't really been advertising that much and everything of that nature, so we're gonna let them go, or fuse them in with Naughty Dog. And to their surprise, the game actually sold very well, and they're
yeah,
like, "Fuck."
yeah,
And instead of just giving Studio Ben their just desserts, they're like, "No, we're still gonna go where we needed to go with." So I
yeah,
don't know, man.
yeah. I mean, it's possible. A lot of things are possible here. It just doesn't make sense. It sucks. You know, I think it's shitty. I think it's a little pedantic to say the game was bad. I think a lot of people who are saying that probably didn't play it. um, and even if you did, I mean, again, opinion's opinion. A lot of people hate The Last of Us too, you know, but that game's like a fucking 90 on Metacritic, you know. So
Yeah,
it's opinion at the end of the day. And Sony shutting a studio down, like, it's weird. I'm almost advocating for capitalism here, which is odd to be in a position of. But when a game sells 8 million copies, that's probably not something you throw away, you know, as a franchise. But I don't know. What do I know? All right, Montrell. Let's move on to our next story. This happened this week. So Take Two has announced that they are planning to buy Zynga for $12.7 billion, which is the largest video game deal to ever happen in the industry. Bethesda for 7.5 billion, I think, was the biggest before this. But yeah, so Zynga is a fairly, I'd say, pretty well known mobile game maker. They started on Facebook with like Farmville and stuff like that, and now they make more mobile games. I'm not sure what games they make at this point. I don't play a lot of mobile, so, but they are a big mobile developer slash publisher. So Take Two buying them for this price feels foreboding to me, because that means they want to get into mobile, right? It can't really mean anything else.
yeah.
So
Or they just want that money that the mobile market is bringing
yeah,
in, probably
well,
fund other projects.
yeah. But I mean, okay, but how do you feel about this? Like they're Take Two, right? They make so many different games, but they make sports games. They've got Rockstar with Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption. I mean, wouldn't you think a mobile version of GTA, would probably do pretty well? You would think, and even some of their sports games, that probably would do pretty well too, like NBA 2K or something like that. So that feels like an inevitability to me, but I don't know. How do you feel about that? Like, do you think that would work for them?
It should work out. It should work for them. I mean, it's gonna bring them more money. Hopefully, they'll free some of their other studios to make other games and accept other pitches and projects, rather than just relying on 2K and things of that nature. Hell, maybe we even get a better 2K out of this shit. I don't know.
Man, you think them making mobile is going to make a better 2K? Then again, I mean, it kind of has been true for Nintendo, right?
Yeah, I mean,
4A
remember we
mobile
were
has actually made some of their franchises live. So
yeah, remember we were very skeptical of that, but I mean, we got nothing but good things to come out of it. So
yeah, right, right. So I mean, we'll see what comes of it. I'm sure they have big plans. 12.7 billion. I don't think you spend that kind of money unless you really want to do something with the company you're buying, rather than just getting passive income. I doubt that's the plan. So I would expect to see mobile games of some of their bigger properties, but we'll see for sure. All right, Montreal, let's move on to our next story. This is probably the big one for you for the week. So a survey went out to some folks, and a user on Reset Era posted it posted parts of the survey that they got, that was from software, and it potentially details a new game that might be an Armored Core game. So the survey, I'm going to read parts of it here, said that, here we go. Quote, the game is a third-person shooter mecha action title that lets you move around an overwhelmingly scaled map that represents a unique sci-fi world with dynamic mech action. You will face strong enemies in fierce battles, both long and short range, using guns and blades. And then it goes on to kind of detail that it's from Hidetaka Miyazaki, designed by him. And the user who got this, there's apparently a video with it as well, that details a boss fight, and they said, quote, the boss fight looks quite soulsy. The long-range gunfire reminded me of Virtual On. That's my frame of reference. I'm not a mech fan and haven't played any AC games. The player character in a white mech went in close to the bigger robot boss and fought with like an energy or laser swords. This looked Souls style, end quote. Montreal, how does that make you feel?
ugh. I mean, I want another Armored Core game, but the old Armored Core games were not Soul style at all. They very much had their own unique style. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I don't know, man. I love Soulsborne games. Everybody who knows me knows I've been playing Soulsborne since Dark Souls. Then I went back and played Demon Souls, but Dark Souls was my first one.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of over the franchise now. Like I love the game still, but I just not every game has to be this has to be in this style. I really want the old Armor Core style back. And I mean, maybe this is for the best. You know, maybe
Well,
the old Armor Core style wasn't as well received. Uh,
I mean, it
but it was
wasn't.
very,
FromSoft
it
was
was
never a big studio when they were making Armored Core.
yeah. But the style of the game was very anime mechish. It was fast. It was
Yeah, it was
fluid.
fat. It was very fast paced. There was a lot of shit going on. Tons of like bullet hell, kind of not bullet hell, but there was a lot of like gunfire, rocket fire, lots of dodging and weaving. It was a super fast paced game from my
Yeah,
my memory of it.
yeah. Especially not the last one because I really didn't like the last one that came out, but it was Armor Core 4. I really love Armor Core 4. Um, and that one was like really cool. It was on 360 and PS3. You can have a clan, and y'all control certain points of the map. And there was even tournaments on that game. But you can control certain parts of the world, and you can actually invade that part of the world. And if someone was there, like if the player was there, they'll tell them like, hey, someone's invading, and you will fight that player while you're invading. If not, you will fight bots of those. You will fight really hard bots of those players,
Mhm.
which I thought was like really fucking cool. Um, so yeah, it was just a really cool world to be in, especially on the multiplayer side. And I feel like that kind of has a space now. If you see a popular streamer playing that, like people would play that game, in my opinion. So that's why I'm really kind of disappointed from what I was hearing, what you were talking about, because I kind of went into the dark mode. I didn't read too much more about it. Um,
I'm sorry. I burst your bubble, I
um,
guess.
yeah, I was really hoping for like a Armored Core 6.
Well, I know you were on Twitter going back and forth with people asking, just like, can you Souls fans just give us one, man? Like, you don't have to have every game that they make.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another thing too. What if the studio really just wants to make something different? Like, what if they just want to go back to that? I think we're bottlenecking these people. They're very talented developers. Like,
Hmm.
they made other games besides Dark Souls and King's Glaive, I think it's called, or something like that.
Yeah, I
Which
think that's
people,
right.
yeah, which people call like the first person Dark Souls on the PS1, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, we know they can make good games, but guys, like, can we just let them make other stuff? Like, please.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
for a mecha game, an action mecha game, to make it slower like Dark Souls feels like a really feels like a disappointing choice.
Yeah.
Mech games are supposed to be fast, man. Like they're supposed to be fast paced. That's just what they are. It's like it's like fucking Gundam. That's what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be like.
Yeah. And I'm not really looking forward to like it being a slower paced game. Like, I don't want it to be slower paced at all.
Yeah, it's like
So
Mech Warrior but anime. It's like
yeah.
I don't know if we want that. Like Mech Warrior has its place, but it's I don't because you're getting into territory. If it's slower, it's more sim like, and I don't. I mean, it probably won't be like a strict sim, but it'll feel that way in terms of movement. And I don't know if that will translate to a mech game versus Dark Souls.
Yeah. True. Like, I'm trying to imagine it, and it's just like, yeah, it can work, but it's gonna be super slow. Like, cause I say super slow, but I know people are like, well, Bloodborne's fast, and Sekiro's fast, and those are your favorite games. Yes, those games are fast compared to Dark Souls. Like, the
Yeah,
genre it's in, that Soulsborne genre, those games are fast paced compared to those type of games.
but they're not really
Mech,
fast.
they're not. Yeah, exactly. They're not. They're not
Like
Devil May
Neo's
Cry.
fast, okay? Like Neo's
Yeah,
fast.
yeah,
Like Sekiro's average speed compared to Neo. Like
exactly. But I wouldn't even want a mech game that's in Neo style game.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
want a mech game that's a mech game, like that's fast, moving back and forth. Like, you feel like a pilot, Like,
yeah. Like
I don't know.
Armor Core or like Zone of the Enders, right? Something like that.
Oh, those were really good examples. Yes, Zone of Enders, Armor Core, even Deus Machina,
Oh
that
yeah,
came out on the
Damon Ex
Switch.
Machina. Yeah,
Aiming next to Machina, yeah, that came out on the Switch. So, like, those are like the type of mech games I like. They do have slower paced mech games, like Japanese mech games. I know people like, or Mech Warrior, even Mech Warrior that went to Mech Assault. That game went kind of faster paced as well. The reason why it was so slow paced because, like, the graphics at the time. But now when it went over to the Xbox, the
well,
OG
that was
Xbox,
the that was the style back then too. Those games, that game was like, that was the time when we had like X Wing versus Tie Fighter, Wing Commander. These like sim, like space, dogfighting games and stuff. Like
yep,
that was kind of the thing back in the '90s. Like we're not in that space anymore. So
yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think people really want the sim like thing anymore. And who knows? Maybe they'll make this like a sim like Dark Souls mech game, and it works. And if that's the case, then I'll give it a try. I mean, I've been wanting a really good mech game. The Damon X Machina gave me what I wanted, but like it gave me like a sliver of what I wanted. Like, I can
not
tell
enough
they
of
didn't have,
it.
yeah, I can tell they didn't have enough funding to do what they really wanted to do with that game. Um, So I don't know, man.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, when we hear more about it, we'll let you guys know. I'm sure we probably won't get an announcement about this game for a year or two, I would imagine, but
Yeah.
we will certainly let you guys know when we do. All right, Montrell, let's move on. We got a couple more stories before we go today. One is a delay. So the developer of Stalker 2, GSC Game World, they announced that Stalker 2 is going to be delayed to December 8th, 2022. I know you were looking forward to this game, but how do you feel about this delay?
I'm disappointed in it. But hey, if they need to make the game better, they need to make the game better. I won't hate on any delay after Cyberpunk.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and they had this whole fucking letter on Twitter they put out. 7 additional months. Will fulfill our vision, achieve the desired state of the game. So I'm sure they'll get there. 7 months is a while, so hopefully they can get a lot done. All right, final story. Uh, Nintendo released a trailer for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It is coming out with a release date. It's coming out on March 25th. So in basically 2.5 months from now, it will be out. And normally I wouldn't have put this on the list to talk about. However, DJ sent this to us, I think, and dude, this was I was like watching this trailer and I was like, what the fuck am I watching? This game looks fucking awesome. Like I was like, this is a Kirby game? Like, what is happening here? What did you think of this one?
Yeah, this was like one of the best looking Kirby games since the one I saw on the three or not. I'm sorry to say 360 on the N64.
Mhm.
Uh, it looks like that one, but better. And I've been waiting for like a good adventure style, Kirby game, 3D adventure style, because they had other Kirby games, but they've been 2.5D Kirby games.
Mhm.
So he's kind of been locked on a 3DS for a while.
Yes, handhelds.
Yeah, and I'm glad he's actually getting another major release on the console. I think the last one was Kirby Air Ride. I could be wrong. I know there probably came out one on the Wii and the Wii U, but I didn't play.
There was Kirby Star Allies, I think, on Switch. That came out. Dude, there's a lot of Kirby games. You'd be surprised how many Kirby games get released.
Were they like multiplayer games though? Like I'm talking about like a pure action or not
I
action, but
think
pure
that one
adventure
was
game.
multiplayer. Yeah, Kirby Star Allies. I remember that one being a multiplayer game.
Yeah, I think that
So
was the 2.5D one, right?
yeah.
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 It's been a while since we had like a 3D action or a 3D adventure Kirby game. I knew there was one on the N64 for sure.
Yeah.
But besides that, I don't remember any other ones.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, this looked really, really, really good. I'm like I said, I was kind of blown away by it. I was like, holy shit, dude, this game looks like awesome. Like, so I just put it on my wish list on Amazon. I actually think I'm gonna play it. Honestly. So, but when it comes out, we will let you guys know how it is, assuming we do play it. So, but yeah, I recommend if you like Kirby at all, or even if you like Mario, I feel like check this trailer out. This might be a game to check out for sure. So,
Oh, and even the one that was on it's Kirby 64 and the Crystal Shards, but
yep.
even that was 2.5D.
Yes, it
So,
was a side scroller. It wasn't a full
yeah.
3D game. Yep.
Yep. But
So
I think this might be the first full 3D Kirby. Then
I'm trying to think. I can't. I'm like trying to think because you're right. Like Kirby hasn't been on home console since the N64. I don't. There was no GameCube Kirby game. There was
well,
no Wii
there was
Kirby
Air
game.
Ride. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
but
want to count that.
yeah, but I'm talking this style. It's like actually a platformer.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And Wii U definitely didn't have a Kirby game from what I remember. So yeah, this might be it. I mean, there are dozens of Kirby games on handhelds like Game
Oh
Boy,
yeah, yeah.
Game Boy Advance.
That's where
Yeah,
Kirby fans live at. I mean, and
right.
they're all good in their respective ways. It's just I really wanted a 3D platformer, like a pure 3D platformer. And
Hmm.
now we're finally getting that. So I'm definitely buying it. I mean, I've been saw it before DJ sent that link, and I told you I'm buying it regardless because I want that Kirby game. It looks really fucking dope.
Yep. Well, dude, we're gonna be like, when you eat and you eat too much and you're like stuffed and you like literally can't even move, after you eat. Have you ever done that to yourself before?
Yeah, yeah. all the time.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna feel after the end of March. The next 2 months of game releases is absolutely fucking insane. Like, there's too many, there's too many games, dude. We're gonna die. Our wallets are gonna die as well. But we will try to play as much as we can, and we will let you guys know how it all is. So, all right, Montrell. That's all I have for news, man. Is there anything else you would like to discuss before we go today?
No, I thought I did have something to discuss, but I actually do not.
Man, just leave it till next week. It's fine. You know,
Yeah,
we've been giving the people some meaty episodes lately, so you know, we'll save it for next week. We're in a slow news period right now too. So, all right, guys. Well, we hope you liked the episode. If you did, please like the episode, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to interact with either of us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com, and we will answer your question on the show. Or if you just have a comment, we'll also probably read it out on the show. So either or, we appreciate both. And that is it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you next week. Bye.